Hey, you guys, for watching another episode of Just Talks. My name is Jamal. This is our MCU recap. This episode is going to be one of our favorite episodes. It's going to be Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I already said my name, but I'm going to say it again. My name is Jamal. I'm here with Ramon. The Winter Soldier was directed by the Russo brothers. Their first entry into the MCU. We love them so much now for what they've done with this movie specifically, but also what they do with the Avengers movies going forward. Do you remember like your first impression, like when you first saw these movies? This movie?
Well, definitely this was the starter of it. Like, okay, like, oh, this was directed by two guys. This is the first time we get like a duo director type of for a Marvel film. And then they followed up with Civil War. And it was just like, all right, y'all got it. When we want a good action-packed Marvel film, put it in these guys' hands because they know exactly what to do to feed us when it comes to that type of content. But I think in terms of Winter Soldier, that was like one of those standalone films where you were like, wow, this is one of them ones. Even before getting like what we have now with all the Infinity Wars and Spider-Man and all this Doctor Strange stuff, multiversal movies, that Winter Soldier movie, that film alone, the way it had its a lot of themes in it. There's a lot of 007 type of espionage, a lot of crime syndicate type of things, but it still felt like a Marvel movie. And at the end of the day, Captain America is not this super flashy superhero, so the story itself does feel grounded to a sense, but at the same time it was still cool to see Captain America in full like prime form Captain America,
1000%. For them, right, like they didn't really have anything that people really knew them for at the time. So they came out the gate swinging. One of the things that we talked about with this movie is that the movie, one of the reasons why this movie is so loved is because it's like back-to-back action scenes.
Yeah.
Every like 20 minutes, it's another action scene or something that's happening that keeps you engaged within the movie. And it starts off like within the movie, with the first like 20-something minutes of the movie, like they very quickly introduce Sam Wilson, which we can get into in a second.
Don't say it. Don't you say it. Left. Come on!
But they jump right into the action of them on the ship. Their first mission with Steve and Natasha and Rumlow, who end up being Crossbones later on.
Mm-hmm. That first scene alone on the cargo ship, that just, it kind of like sets the tone for what we're getting ourselves into. Because you can see like, okay, this is what Steve Rogers has been up to since post New York, post battle New York. What is he up to? He's on these missions with S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff, directly working with Nick Fury and Black Widow or whatever. It starts off like as a regular mission, save the hostages, get the bad guys. But then as they go along, he kind of realizes like there's something deeper than this. Black Widow's not really following orders.
Our mission is to rescue hostages.
No, that's your mission. And you've done it beautifully.
You just jeopardized this whole operation.
Everything seems too easy, and then at the end they kind of get like a little hint of like there's something deeper than just hostages taking over a cargo ship,
Yeah, I think that this goes back to when we were talking about the Avengers, when Tony was on the ship and he was like talking about Nick Fury and it's like his secrets have secrets.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they get off the ship and he goes back to see Nick and he's like, yo, like what did you have us doing?
I can't lead a mission when the people I'm leading have missions of their own.
It's called compartmentalization. Nobody spills the secrets because nobody knows them all.
Except you.
It goes down that path of like, who can you trust? Like, what can you believe? Who can you trust? And that was the whole theme in the entire movie. Even down to when they bring up Bucky later on, and he doesn't even know who to trust and what to believe because he's been brainwashed. So that whole like understanding of being brainwashed, or not being brainwashed, but who can you trust? Yeah, they put that perfectly throughout the entire movie.
It felt like it was a lot at stake at any given moment. Anyone that you thought you could trust, and then we find out later that these people are really Hydra, not actually S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's like you start to think like, wow, who was really behind all this? Who was kind of like it makes you question like who really helped Loki get into like, you know, the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters and stuff like that, you know?
Everything. You literally can question everything. And we're going to definitely question that later on when we start talking about scrolls and stuff like
exactly.
that. But like this was like the start of like who, like we've been saying over and over again, who can you trust? Sam Wilson. So
on your left.
On your left. On your left.
Don't say it. Don't you say
On
it.
your left.
Come on!
Russo brothers, and they continuously did because they were the ones to introduce a bunch of characters into the MCU. They introduced Spider-Man, they introduced Black Panther. So with that being the case, they also they did the post-credit for this movie when they introduced the twins.
Yep.
Them putting him in the movie, Sam, don't know if you thought about, but I just thought about just now, is how they introduced both of the potential replacements for Cap in the same movie, and they did it like seamlessly.
Yeah.
Because now when we get later on, we don't know who's going to end up being Captain America.
Yeah.
A lot of people were upset that it ended up being Sam, but it made sense why they picked him instead of
in the comics. We know that they both take up the mantle as Cap, and it's cool. Like as you said, that we kind of get a glimpse of that in this film. For like Bucky wise, it's like okay, Bucky's been brainwashed. He's had the serum in him. He's been up, down a dark path, and then you got flip the coin. You got Sam Wilson, who by the book, decorated, officer or whatever, kind of just like left the army for his own personal reasons, and is just kind of looking for a real reason to get back into the fight.
The answer is you don't. What's this? Call it a resume.
I thought it was like you said, it was pretty genius putting that little Easter egg in there very, very early on.
Very early.
Who can take up the mantle, and then ultimately Sam Wilson, is the wise choice for sure.
But it kind of made sense that they did it because there's a lot of things that, like an ongoing joke that he said that started in this movie that he kept saying multiple times throughout the rest of the MCU.
Don't look at me. I do what he does, just slower.
And he just kept saying it. So it kind of made sense that they was going to do that later on.
Up to the point where he's like, I should have took the serum.
But Anthony Mackie being Sam, to me, was funny because, like, seeing his roles that he's had.
Tupac.
Hey, yo, check it out, motherfucker. I'm Tupac.
Papa Doc, we talking about 8 Mile. Never had a role when you would take him that serious to be in this role. Because there is one movie that he's in that I actually really like. And I know a lot of people don't know this movie and haven't seen it. And it's a little bit more of a serious role. Maybe you've seen it. Have you ever seen The Adjustment Bureau? It's with Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
I believe it's Matt Damon.
Adjustment Bureau?
It's Adjustment Bureau. It almost, like the theme of the movie, if you guys have never seen it, the Adjustment Bureau, it basically says that everything happens for a reason, that you're always in the right place at the right time and you meet people for specific purposes. Like in the movie, the whole purpose of the movie for Matt Damon's character is he meets this woman. She's in the men's bathroom for whatever reason. And he's like running for election, right? And he didn't know he had to give a speech at whatever event that they were at. They put her there to be there at that time. Like she had her own stuff going on, but she was like, she wasn't supposed to be there, but she was there. And that was his motivation to give the speech that he was supposed to give. He realized that was the woman of his dreams, like that was his girl. And the rest of the movie was him trying to get her, and they're like, bro, you were only supposed to meet her this one time. Like you're not supposed to come across her again. So it's supposed to stop him from doing that. And Anthony Mackie is like his almost like angel that's supposed to be helping him
get to that
and advising him. So it was a little bit more of a serious role. But outside of that, seeing him,
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I gotta look that up.
It's a good movie. But seeing him go from the other roles that we do know, like Tupac and Papa Doc, it's a completely different twist.
I mean, he did good as Sam Wilson though. He added like you said, a serious note, but then he wasn't too serious at the same time. He added his little twist to it. You could tell he kind of was. He felt like he was being himself on set,
Especially when we see him like do interviews and stuff after.
Yeah. He's just happy to be there.
Exactly. Except in that Marvel check, I would have.
Man, you're right there next to Cap in every single Cap movie. Oh man,
every single one.
Can't ask for nothing better.
To talk about some of like the action scenes, which is the biggest thing in this movie, and we should probably recap just the overall story of the movie, so people understand. I mean, even though people probably seen this movie a million times.
Yeah, it probably is the most watched. One of the most
watched ones. But in short, the story of this is that it's just the resurgence of Hydra. Hydra finally has decided that they want to come out of hiding and put the plan in motion that has been set up since years and years before. They infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and was able to use their weapons, which we know some of their weapons were even stolen from all those years ago.
Yeah.
But they basically put their plan in motion to take over S.H.I.E.L.D. and take over the world.
You know, it's funny, like Zola, when that one scene when they're in that bunker with Zola's brain, data mine or whatever, he was saying that they slowly infiltrated like a parasite. Those weapons that we seen in Avengers were probably some of his blueprints that just trickled down throughout the years and kind of just got implemented with the right leadership, the right executive that secretly works for Hydra. They can, say, to that final marketing on these type of weapons that are being ultimately made that ended up being found by, Tony and Cap or whatever when they were having that little that little cat fight in the little office or whatever. But, it's cool to see stuff like that. How would we get, like, when we're watching Avengers, it's like, how do we get to this point? And then seeing Winter Soldier, circle back and pay off that moment. Zola literally explaining how it happened piece by piece,
Yeah, exactly. Literally piece by piece, all the way back from when I think he said like 72.
It was they got arrested in 43 or something like that, 47, something like that.
Yeah, right after the war, 45, and then 72 is when he said he got sick, but they put his brain into that whole lab. That
200,000 feet of data bank or whatever.
Yeah.
He's been dead for years.
First correction, I am Swiss. Second, look around you. I have never been more alive.
Which is like, bro, what? How did I even do that?
I don't know.
I mean,
back at that time,
Howard.
Howard,
probably. Howard. Or himself.
But you see how was Howard assassinated before then or after? Who knows? Was Zola even alive at the time? Because
I think it was after. I think it was 84. We'll definitely get there though because they're gonna say it in Civil War.
Yeah. We're gonna get the actual camera footage with date and timestamp.
But the whole thing is they're trying to eliminate all the key players. They're trying to eliminate Cap. They're trying to eliminate. I almost said Sam Jackson, which is Nick Fury.
Yeah.
But they start with Nick, and that's how you know how serious it was because they're trying to get rid of the director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Fracture detected.
And I think that that's one of the best scenes in the movie, especially because they probably realize Sam Jack is getting old. They're probably not going to be able to give him his own movie.
Yeah. So
let's give him a really cool ass scene.
Yeah.
For the one time.
It was cool when he had his, mini tank Yukon. I don't know. Those type of glass windows are like super glass.
Propulsion systems offline.
Then reboot, damn it!
It felt like a Sicario type of film. A lot of gun firefight. Put a pause on the superpowers and stuff like that for now, and the super strength and the flying and all that. Go back to the military level.
Yeah.
And what it would look like to be an actual tactic, type of assassination hit on a director of this type of unit. It was cool. It was really cool.
And they built it up because it was not expected whatsoever, right? Well, first off, before that, he was a little suspicious, but obviously we wasn't expecting the attack. Because he was trying to get into some file in his office and he couldn't get into the file. And then he realized
something's wrong.
Because the person put a block under his name. And it's how do you put a block under my name? Yeah. So that was already something that was suspicious for him. And then he's driving down the street and out of nowhere he gets T-boned by another car.
Yeah.
And they still built up the suspense because we didn't know that he was going to pull out that big machine gun that he used to take out.
Not expecting that.
Because he's
Window integrity
integrity 19%. Offensive measures advised.
Because the computer was in the car was telling him like he should use the gun. He's like, no, wait. And he waited for the perfect moment, so they weren't expecting, and he just sprayed.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna beat that Matrix Reloaded. That was the second one, right? Matrix Reloaded. Nothing's gonna beat that like chase scene, but I think that this is the two chase scenes in this movie did a pretty good job, because in the midst of him getting away and finally getting away, we finally get our first scene of Aura farming
Winter
Soldier. Because the way that he shot the truck and stood there to the last second and then moved out of the way as the car flipped over.
They almost like said this introduction needs to be legendary, and what other person to put him against? Director Fury, you know, even prior to even the car chase with all them military factions and stuff, when he's talking to Pierce and Pierce is kind of suspecting him for stuff, they're already on that type of like level where they're like, okay, something's going on here. I want to get to the bottom of this, and I clearly can't even trust you, the director of World Security Council, something like that. So, you know, flash forward all the way up until we get to the Winter Soldier part. That's when, you know, director realizes like, okay, now if they're sending this guy, because he may or may not know.
He definitely knew who he was.
Right, he knew of Winter Soldier. He just probably didn't know that it was Bucky or whatever. But
he probably did.
No, he said it to Cap when he found him. He didn't know it was Bucky, but he knew of Winter Soldier. Like he knew like. Oh
yeah, he did say that. He said, "Oh, because if he's like, but if you did know, would you tell me?" And he's like, basically he said no.
Exactly, right. So him realizing right then and there, if they're sending him, he's in something, they want him dead off the map immediately. And S.H.I.E.L.D. has been compromised. And just like that, a whole faction that we saw, kind of like the main, not threat, but the main like force in this world, completely get flipped upside down.
Yeah.
And that's when you know, like, okay, this movie is different. This is a different type of movie we're going in.
Completely different. And
this is probably like 30, 40 minutes in, too.
Yeah, exactly. That was all 45 minutes within the movie.
Yeah.
You know what we skipped? Talking about, like, action scenes. Something we didn't talk about. We did, but we skipped over it. The boat scene. But, that's, as we're talking about action scenes, trying to just stay in the flow of things. Cap was on demon time.
We gotta get a kill count on screen.
And he got on that boat, and the first thing he did, he jumped down and he kicked that guy.
Yeah.
He definitely killed him.
Nah, yeah. His back hit that guardrail, splashed into the water. You already know 10 sharks just pulled up on his body. He was done.
Because the only people that could have saved him were the people that were there, and Cat took them out too.
And they also got their ass kicked. So a few of them broken ribs, broken arms. That one guy, he threw the shield. How are you 5 feet away from someone and you throw an adamantium shield directly to their chest with your super soldier vibranium? Sorry, I don't know why I said adamantium. With your super soldier strength, and like, how do you expect them to get up from that? You know. So yeah, some of those guys, they ain't making it home back to their families.
No, not at all. Then the guy that they threw the knife through his hand.
Oh yeah, when he was hit the alarm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he caught a bad one too. Because how do you get your hand stuck and then the roundhouse kick to the chin, close range? I mean, it's Captain America we're talking about.
Exactly.
I don't know if he's pulling his punches like Spider-Man.
Oh, definitely not.
But
He's definitely not pulling punches.
Those constructs are going right through those Russian jaws.
And then the guy that he ended up fighting at the end.
Yeah.
Which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to be like a version, because you know how MCU likes to change things
Switch
around.
it up, tweak things.
I believe that's supposed to be a version of a villain called the Kangaroo. Because if you see, he does a lot of kicking in the fight with Cap,
yeah,
and also his colors on his costume or
the burgundy with the yellow.
Exactly, yeah. It really showed where they were going with this, because there was a lot of hand-to-hand combat, especially when it came to Bucky and Cap.
Yeah.
But that was like the early on of showing that.
Yeah, I feel like for this film, the Russos went above and beyond getting like a stunt coordinator, because you can literally tell like you said, from the cargo ship, with that one-on-one with Batroc or Kangaroo, whatever, the way everything is coordinated and choreographed, this is leagues above Hulk, Iron Man, like even Avengers fighting style. They were kind of like more like punch, throw, hit, like superpower based. This is more like really hand-to-hand based combat, and it was really like refreshing to see this type of action.
Which is why I think it aged well.
Yes, exactly.
Because you're not looking at a bunch of CGI. You're looking at because if you see like behind the scenes, you see them actually practicing the moves and stuff that they're doing. So it was very much that real practical stuff. Of course, they add the CGI with some of their strength and sound effects to show how strong they're doing stuff.
The repetition of their body movements and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you really get to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
But talking about like trust, right? So we see Nick Fury go to Cap's apartment in code, but he's telling him like, yo, you can't trust anybody. I thought that there were people that I could trust, but you literally can't trust anybody because S.H.I.E.L.D. has been compromised. Winter Soldier tries to assassinate Nick because obviously we found out that Nick doesn't really die, but he tries to assassinate him, and Steve chases Bucky. Well, he doesn't know it's Bucky at the time, but he chases Bucky until he finally gets him. He throws the shield at him. When he throws the shield at him, when I remember seeing that in theaters for the first time, that like impressed me because, as I say in almost every episode that we've done so far, I wasn't like the biggest into the comics, especially not Captain America comics. Yeah. So not knowing that Bucky turns into the Winter Soldier and seeing that and seeing somebody actually catch the shield, like that hasn't happened in any of the movies leading up to this point. So I'm just like,
let alone throw it back and make him catch it and realize like, wait, did you just throw this shit back at me? Yeah. He kind of stepped back for a little bit if you see it, if you notice.
And it's like one of the early like references, because there's going to be another one later on when they fight. That was one of the references of like him holding the shield. Yeah. You know? Because in versions, as we already said, he takes
the mantle.
Yeah, for a little bit.
He kind of like a rogue Captain America. He has the shield in one hand and 22 in the other. So like he's a little bit different. Even though you don't need his suit is elite though. He got the black with the V stripe. I thought that was perfect, to be honest.
I was going to talk about them being on the run because after everybody thinks that Nick died, right? They have Steve come back to the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters because their goal at this point is try to get rid of him next. Like they got rid of Nick, let's get rid of Cap because they're the two biggest threats, and then we worry about Natasha later. Yeah. They take him back to the headquarters, and when he's leaving, because he has that back and forth with Pierce, because Pierce is obviously the person that's running things now. And when he's leaving, he threatens Cap. He's like, I'm prepared to get rid of anybody, because he's still trying to frame it as like, this is my friend. Yeah. So he's like, if anybody gets in my way, anybody, like, I'm take you out. Yeah. So that should have been a hint right there for us as the audience. But when Cap gets on the elevator and then he starts to see everybody get on the elevator.
The big tough guys one by one. Ended up being like what, 18 dudes in that elevator? Yeah. Something like that.
But Cap's awareness was so high because he's picking up on all the little cues. Yeah. And I was saying this to you when we were watching the movie, I was like, Cap was getting in fights before he was Captain America, when he was still the skinny kid in Brooklyn. So he was picking up on all the little things that other people aren't thinking about. Yeah. He's noticing the guy that's like basically holding on to like his weapon. He's noticing like how nervous some of the guys are when they're getting on the elevator.
They're sweating and stuff.
Yeah. And that's all cues. So then he calls it out. He's like,
before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
But some of them probably should have took that.
Some of them, they all should have done that. I mean, come on, you're going up against the captain, man. That alone, that scene alone, that gets played back so many times.
So many times.
It just goes to show when Cap is serious, don't get in his way. You know.
I think that what's great about scenes like that, just from a movie standpoint, not specifically this directly, but just in general, is the music that they use. because they made it so much more suspenseful. Because it's like you're now engaged. It's a perfect blend between like the punches, and you can almost feel the punches through the sound. But you also have that like the music is giving you some sort of like adrenaline rush at the same time.
It almost just like captures you while because you're engaged watching the film, and then the sound just like captures you whole, and now you're just almost feeling like you say, you're feeling the punches and everything, and then they adjust like the music sound effect to go up or down depending like what's actually happening. So like by the time he's done and he's just standing in a circle of bodies, you get to breathe finally, because you were like holding your breath for like a good 3 minutes, so a brilliant scene, literally.
And then he realized that he has to escape.
Yeah.
And he does what he's been doing the entire, like, not only this movie, but the last couple movies, by just jumping without a parachute.
Which is gangster, not gonna lie.
His shoulder definitely should have been.
Oh no, yeah, he should have dislocated it at least a little bit.
I mean, then again, vibranium does absorb.
This is true, and his body is built, way tougher than regular.
Yeah, so maybe he would be.
How many floors did he drop? I don't know. Had to be like.
It had to be at bare minimum like 20.
20, 30.
At least bare minimum. That building, we find out later on, is like 40 floors. So.
Yeah, well, the Anthony jumps off the 40th, and that's like if you see it, like you kind of calculate, it's kind of like halfway through the building. It's not all the way to the top, but like. If he's at the 40th and they jumped way, I'd say 20, 30.
Yeah, it was about to be
average.
It's still crazy.
Yeah, no. But he, like you say, vibranium absorbed almost all that. So, God forbid somebody was below him, though. That's all I'm saying.
Death.
Instant.
We should talk about something that was a chunk of the movie, of him and Natasha's relationship.
Yeah.
Because they kind of like flirted with the idea of them becoming a couple throughout the rest of the series, even though she's kind of, outside of Thor, she kind of did flirt with Tony, him, and then of course Bruce as well. But this was, which leads into a joke that comes out in Age of Ultron. Yeah. But they're like back and forth, because it seems like Natasha is basically looking for something, like she's trying to fill some sort of void, and she's kind of projecting that onto Cap as well, because he's also missing something. So she's basically trying to like trauma bond with him.
I think she realizes very quickly, like, she's not her specifically, but he's just too out of place for that, for what she's looking for. Or even if she's not looking for anything specifically or like on purpose, she may just be, like you said, projecting or whatever. But that teaser of like, okay, these two broken people who have been through so much, Cap being frozen for 80 years, Natasha being a widow, which we know what widows come with. So they both have a lot of history, and to see them like do that little fake kissing scene on the escalator, it was just like, yeah, no, this can't work out. This ain't working out at all.
He's a little bit too much about a book for her.
Exactly. He's honorable. He's got his, his Peggy is somewhere out there waiting for him. He's not gonna give up on that. And then Natasha's just gonna be, Natasha. So
jumping ahead a little bit, what did you think about the? I know we introduced Sam already, but the introduction to Falcon, because they kind of do that subtly, like we were saying earlier when we were talking about the Russos and how well that they introduce characters, because they name drop somebody else, and we can get to that in a second. But what do you think about them and how they introduced the whole concept of the Falcon? Because they never actually verbally said the Falcon.
Behind 3 guarded gates and a 12-inch steel wall.
Shouldn't be a problem.
I think for a character to be MCU-ified, I think it was pretty solid. It was like alley-oop almost. Like, you have this character, right, that he's kind of Captain America's shadow. In the comics, he was more like a little, what's the word? Grandiose. He has the red and white suit with the actual feathers, the mask, and everything going on. And he actually had the real red wing, like actual Falcon following him around. It's kind of like, if you translate that into a Winter Soldier film, it will not mesh at all. It's just too out there. So
imagine him trying to put a bird and having him trying to like, that's too.
You got Bucky just gonna take it out with an M16. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna poof, whatever. So like the way they did it, making it a suit, like an exosuit, and that calling that the Falcon, smart, genius. You know, you just two birds, one stone, basically. No pun intended. But then you know you don't have to worry about like him having powers or a special ability of sort. No, he's just really skilled pilot, and he trained really well using this classified exosuit. Sounds great to me in a Captain America movie. You know, he fits. He's like a puzzle piece. He fits very well.
And then they showed it perfect.
Yeah.
Like, when they interrogating the guy, he doesn't want to say anything, and Natasha kicks him off the building, and he comes flying and drops him back. But you see the wings and the way that he lands.
Exactly. They debuted it like perfect. They dropped the portfolio. It says exoskeleton Falcon, and then you're like, what do you mean Falcon? Because maybe, I don't know, if you weren't too crazy on like Avengers comics and stuff like that, you may not have known that Sam Wilson is the Falcon. So once you see the portfolio or whatever, and you're like, Falcon. And then, 30 seconds later, he comes flying in on the screen. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
This Falcon.
That's what it was for me. That's what it was for me when I first saw it, because I had no idea. So seeing that for the first time, I was like, oh, that's fire.
Exactly.
That's fire.
And,
granted, the wing gets ripped off towards the end of the movie, but...
Thank God he gets those vibranium wings. You ain't ripping those off. But Sam Wilson himself, like Falcon, the character himself, he's a good addition because he brings what Steve is missing. Steve is like you said, by the book, honorable, old school, classic type of guy, and then you got Sam Wilson. He's modern day Marine, So he brings a sense of familiarity to Steve, while at the same time still kind of teaching him what he missed. Yeah, because they relate like on 100 when it comes to like the military and stuff like that. Yeah. They just mesh well like that.
And then they name dropped Doctor Strange.
What targets?
You, a TV anchor in Cairo, the Undersecretary of Defense, a high school valedictorian in Iowa City, Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat to Hydra.
Future threats. Naming him as a future threat, as if they can see the potential in the future. Because when they were having that scene, they were explaining basically the mission for Hydra was the technology that they were using were to track tendencies of people, even at a young age, to see where they could potentially be later on, and look at those people as threats. So they saw Steven as being a potential threat in the future, which obviously we learned that Steven is Doctor Strange. Yeah. So it shows that thing was pretty accurate.
Yeah. It's cool to think like where was Steven? Like when you think about it, he's Delancey's Bleecker Street, right? Whatever. Where was Steven Where was Steven during the Battle of New York? And then where was he when all of this was happening? Was he already involved with like the magic world already that they knew? Like Hydra themselves had files on the Doctor Strange? Or was he really just that good of a doctor? Like, yo, this guy is really, really smart. We got to keep our eyes on him. That's interesting to think about. Like what point of time did he become a threat?
Yeah, exactly.
For Hydra to keep tabs on him.
Yeah. We gotta think.
Yeah.
I wonder. Because all we knew about him at that time was him being the doctor. So interesting to think about.
He became Sorcerer Supreme in like a couple weeks.
Yeah, very short period. Which leads into another great fight scene. As we say, it just keeps going back to back with fight scenes. So it leads into the next fight scene with them in the car driving, and Bucky jumps on top of the car and starts to... First off, he kills him. But he threw him out the car. He got hit by that truck.
Shout out the Penske ad though, because you knew that was a Penske truck. It was fast and it was subtle, but you knew that was a Penske truck.
Yo, he took him out so quick. Because he was like, he's talking way too much.
Yeah, he's yapping. He had to go. They heard everything. They definitely heard that.
Yeah.
Project Insight, come on now.
That whole scene, it was, like we were saying, sound effects, number one of the biggest things that they did. that sound effect that they used for Bucky every time that he was on screen.
Oh yeah, and his arm like or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
and then there was like that scream effect that they was using every time that he was about to do something.
It was like his official theme song or something.
Yeah, it made him feel a lot more threatening.
Yeah,
which I loved. I loved that.
It was almost like a thrilling type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of scary, trying to make you, bone chill.
Just everything going on at once. All three of them are doing different things to help together, which we see later on that once the Avengers break up, those are the three that kind of stay together. Mm-hmm. Remember in Infinity War when they kind of went to save Wanda and Vision? It was them three that pulled up. So that was their first like get together. Cap, Sam, and Natasha. Yeah, that was fire.
They had their little moment with the car door and the shield. They were sliding, and then Sam was just doing the rollies. Yo, that scene was insane. Ripping the steering wheel out the. I'd never even seen somebody do that.
The hand-to-hand combat that we were talking about before. Seeing that trick that
the knife trick
with the knife, and he threw it up, caught it, and trying to like stab him.
How many times have they practiced that?
Probably 1,000,001 times.
150 times. Probably.
Even to the point where he tried to stab him when he was on like the truck and he hit it, and then he was like dragging it through the. Do you know how strong that he had to be to like drag a knife like that through that truck?
How strong is that knife though?
That's true.
That could be some vibe. I don't know.
Some sort of
super S.H.I.E.L.D. grade type of thing.
Yeah, that's had for forever, unless he just keeps getting new ones. But that was tough. There's that whole scene in itself, like seeing everything. We'll go down to the details of that scene in itself.
It was just the way it played out from the moment they were on the highway to the street level to then the one-on-one, Natasha getting hit. It was crazy.
And then them arresting Cap and getting free by what was her name? Sharon.
Yeah. Hill.
Sharon Carter.
Is it Sharon? No, it's Maria.
Maria Hill.
Maria Hill.
Sharon Carter.
Sharon Carter is the
Peggy's
niece. The niece, the blonde. Yeah. Maria Hill. That was like her one cool scene.
Seeing basically like going into the ending of the movie when they finally on their final mission to stop the helicarrier and stop Hydra from what they were trying to do. We really get to see like Cap start to become that like real leader. That long speech that he gave, and I'll definitely put clips right here.
The price of freedom is high, it always has been. It's a price I'm willing to pay. If I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not.
I can't put the whole thing because of copyright, but
no.
But some of some of that whole speech like really was what changed this movie a lot. Yeah. And you started to see the postal line when we talk about people giving speeches. We talk about him, Optimus Prime, sort of people. Like, who do you want leading you into battle? Like, or who do you want motivating you?
Lawrence Fishburne somewhere, Morgan Freeman. Yeah.
But that speech that he gave really showed him step away because he's really stepping up and showing what he believes in. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely maybe like foreshadowing in a sense of like why he took the stance that he took when we get to Civil War. Yeah. Because how do you go from this and everything that's happened to you, knowing that like, because even Natasha made a joke in the movie. She was like, how do you feel to know that you basically
died for nothing,
even though he didn't die, but basically that he risked his life for nothing. Because he thought when he went into the ice, he thought that he defeated Hydra, but obviously Hydra was still around. They never went away.
Festering.
So now he's stepping that up and showing that and exposing that to not only the rest of S.H.I.E.L.D. that's whatever is still left, because then S.H.I.E.L.D. becomes S.W.O.R.D. but
something like that, yeah.
But they whatever they have left of S.H.I.E.L.D., you're exposing that to them, not only them, the world, because they're seeing what's going on. Him being that character is the perfect example of what Captain America is supposed to be.
The leader.
Yeah.
When he meets Nick for the first time, he finds out that Nick is actually not dead. He tells them, "You're in charge now, Captain." So that's like the first, like, you know, you see it on his face, like, you know what? I gotta stop running from the world and just face it, literally. Because he got out of ice and he felt so lost that he didn't know what to do. But now he knows what he must do.
Yep.
He was gone for a while. The world went to, you know, 80 years, a lot happened, and now he's back, and he's feel like that's his mission, that's his goal, that's his life, you know, his moral code.
The question that I had from watching this movie, they've made movies about stuff like this, but more or less relationship, not with like friendship. How would you go about it? Like if you were Cap and your friend was Bucky, like how would you go about the situation that he like almost doesn't remember you? And you guys, this is now your number one like mortal enemy at this point.
Yeah.
Like how do you handle that? Because he completed his mission and did what he had to do, but then he's like, I'm not fighting you. And Bucky was punching him as hard as he could in his face, and he's just like, I'm not fighting. He already said this when we were younger, which is to the end of the line, which kind of stopped him a little bit because I think his memory started to trigger back a little bit. But yeah, how do you handle that?
It's tough. You know, you can't even, it's hard to imagine a person like Bucky thinking that you're one thing. Like, well, not even, would you even know that what he's thinking right now? When he's in that mode, kill mode, Winter Soldier style, he just has a mission. There's probably a voice in his head, kill Steve, kill this person, kill that person. Outside of that, we don't know how he's thinking. So to just imagine him going through the museum and realizing like, damn, my name is Bucky Barnes. This guy was actually my friend 100 years ago, and you know, we were badasses and all this happened and I killed all these people. Like it's tough to be Bucky and realize that you did all that. Steve Rogers' standing point, I would definitely, you know, if I was in his boots, so to say, I would definitely just try to persuade my friend, you know, like, yo, this is the history. Like if we got history like these two, yo, look at what we done, bro. This is who you are, you know, you got to remember who you are and stuff like that. So it's definitely tough, you know, and we could see it in the following films. Even the next film, Ultron, they kind of, you know, hint a little bit like, oh, what's our, you know, our missing persons case or whatever. And then following Civil War, where it's like, all right, we caught up to him, we got to get this man. And it was tough. It took a lot of effort between Sam, Widow, and Steve to subdue Winter Soldier and just like kind of calm him down, talk to him, bring him back to Earth. Like, yo, listen, bro, you're Bucky. You got to remember that you're Bucky, and you know, you my bro. that's the type of timing that he was on, you know. So I respect Cap. I respect Cap for that. I would honestly would do exactly the same, 100%, absolutely.
He said he's gonna put that on a t-shirt.
I gotta get Spider-Man in like an Uncle Sam suit, and he's just absolutely facts.
I think that was it for the movie in itself. It kind of wraps it up. I think that nothing really changes for me for this movie. I've seen this movie a million times. I'm sure you've seen it a million times as well.
Watching it again just confirms like these movies aged well.
Perfectly.
Aged well. It fit exactly where it needed to fit. It gave the right amount of information. And it also, you know, looking back now at the stuff that it didn't give or like hinted at, even that was perfectly orchestrated, because everything that they talk about plays out later. The whole Hydra thing, the whole Crossbones coming back, the whole Stephen Strange, you know, all these things really come back into play, and it's just like, wow.
Yep.
Winter Soldier was really one of those films. Yeah. And then the action. Come on.
Up until this point, I think this movie is, what would you say? It's still top 2 in the MCU at this point.
Yeah.
Because it would be Avengers and this as the top 2 movies.
Absolutely.
At this point, if we're not getting
anything after, but before this,
it's definitely number 1 and 2.
Number 1 and 2 on a good day, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You know,
depending on how you're feeling.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think what's the last thing we needed to mention? Probably the post-credit scene.
Post-credit?
The post-credit scene showing the twins.
Yes.
I'm not
Scarlet Witch and
sure how they were able to, which I never understood how they were fully able to do that once you find out a little bit more behind the scenes stuff with
Yeah.
how they were able to have them, because technically they're mutants and they couldn't use that terminology because Fox had the rights to the X-Men and stuff like that.
I think at this point the Russos were too smart for their own good. They knew damn well sooner or later, where it be next year, 5 years, 10 years from now, X-Men coming home. Or at least some sort of that is coming home. You know, contracts end, and they figure, all right, we can't say mutant. All right, they're not mutants.
Yeah.
Call them experiments of Infinity Stones. That's basically what they are. You don't have to say Quicksilver. You don't have to say Scarlet Witch for now.
Yeah.
We'll just say this person, the twins. You know, they're from whatever
Country.
Sokovia. You know, and let's just play that part and just slowly trickle it in that way, and it kind of paid off perfectly, because Age of Ultron they did really good in. You know, so to dabble with the word mutant, they were bold for that, but they didn't use it. So
Yeah, they got away with it.
they played the safe route, and they did good.
I think to wrap it up and talk about going back to talk about the Russos, now that we've kind of talked about everything, and like I said, it's popping in my head right now as I'm speaking.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in older movies when we're talking about Kevin Feige, and we'll definitely talk about it more when we get to the X-Men. But Kevin Feige was a big reason certain things in those X-Men movies, why they got like placed, like a lot of like Easter eggs and callbacks and references to the comic books, because Kevin was a big fan of the comics.
Yeah.
I think I've said this before in another video that like Hugh Jackman used to say all the time, like, I didn't know Wolverine. I used to sneak into Kevin's office and read the comics so I can learn about the character that I'm supposed to be portraying. And I think that the Russos seem to be big comic book fans as well. And working with Kevin, I think that they're like the perfect team of people, because they do those references so well with all the characters, and they pay very like good respects to those characters.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think that, in my personal opinion, I think that Spider-Man, when he was in, we're gonna get to Civil War, so I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but Spider-Man, I think that was like the best like portrayal of Spider-Man as a whole on screen. And I don't think that, since whatever argument, debates you want to have about the best Spider-Man, I don't think that we've had a better Spider-Man version since that. Whatever they did for that movie, perfect. We can get into detail when we get to Civil War, but I just think that it just shows that their ability to do that was,
with what little time and what little power they had for that said title, they did exactly what they needed to.
And it started with, like we said, with showing the Falcon. So,
exactly.
But yeah, that was the Winter Soldier.
Do we have any questions from our directors?
What made him like the Winter Soldier? Like, was that like a kind of like Captain America type of experiment thing?
The Winter Soldier was kind of just like a code name that they kind of just threw out there.
Yeah.
Because he was
experimented on though.
Yeah. Going from the MCU route, this is me making stuff up. I don't fully know, because there's probably a better explanation in the comics. But my guess would be when he fell into the ice off the train in the first movie in 1945, whatever that was supposed to be. It was like winter time, so they found him in the snow, and that's where they dragged his body from. So that's probably plays into the role. But it's also supposed to be like winter, you know, it's a little bit colder and darker. It gives you more of a darker vibe. And he's supposed to be like this stealth, like shadow. Like you're not supposed to even know that he exists. Like he would come around, assassinate whoever he had to assassinate, and then they would put him back on ice. So yeah.
He was probably the guy who got JFK.
Possibly. Yeah.
And they put him back on ice, and that's it. Wake him up whenever they need him. Give him a little passcode, and he'll do whatever. Just like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So is he on ice throughout most of the MCU?
Nah, I think
it was up until this movie.
Yeah.
Like they would put him back and forth up until this movie.
After this, he's on the run.
That's all for me, man.
Do you think this movie is more of a political thriller than a superhero film?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question.
I 100% think so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about it. What makes a superhero film is, you know, grandiose, flashy powers and storylines, the damsel in distress, stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. This adds more government-related factions, a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes, and then what we actually see on the front lines. So mesh that with a superb character like Captain America. This is definitely more on the political side than superhero side. But the way the Russos do it, you kind of forget what's what while watching the film, and you're just like, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life. Basically, you kind of get that. But yeah, for sure, more political than superhero. Absolutely.
That's a good question.
If you were in Steve's position, would you have made the same choices?
Yes. I think I would have done basically everything that he did. Because, I mean, me as is,
yeah.
I already have some sort of trust issues when it comes to things. So learning that people are now doing more shady stuff, you kind of want to separate yourself from that. So you wanting to also do the right thing and help as many people as you possibly can. Probably would have made most of the same decisions that he made. The one about with him and Bucky would have been tough. But if that's like, Bucky was basically his family, so you don't really want to turn your back on that person. So yeah, you do as much as you can.
Plus, also, if he didn't make the decisions he made, probably would have ended up killing you.
Yeah.
They tried killing him multiple times throughout the movie, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Rumlow was trying to dig a grave every 30 minutes.
Literally. One more?
One more quick one. Do you see Bucky as more of a villain or a victim?
Victim. 1000% a victim, because he wanted to be a hero. And we see later on how like guilty he feels about all the stuff that he's done. He definitely wouldn't have done any of that stuff if he wasn't brainwashed.
He does say he remembers every single one of them that he's done. He regrets all of that. And at the end of the day, he was fighting for our country. So he was 100% in the right mindset of not being a villain, you know. Even after gaining gaining consciousness again after the whole brainwashing, the first thing he wanted to do is just run away. As a villain, you don't ever run away. You just want to get revenge. Like Killmonger. Killmonger was a villain. He literally planned his whole life getting revenge against Wakanda. Meanwhile, Bucky Barnes is just, yo, leave me alone, bro. Y'all already did too much. I just want to be chilling, reading my newspaper. Like,
be left alone. Yeah.
For sure. Shout out Bucky.
Good questions. Appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching another episode of Just Talks. That's the Captain America, the Winter Soldier. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Guardians of the Galaxy is next. Yeah. Guardians will be next, and then it'll be Age of Ultron and Ant-Man to close out Phase 2.
Boom.
So yeah, we'll see you next week to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
I am Groot.
Peace.